guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Okay guys, I'm back and it is September 16th, Monday, and it is 9:42 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, we're going to get into the Q-related news, and I do have some people to thank for coffee, and I got a couple things in the mail today, but I don't have that list with me, so I will do it on the next video. But I appreciate it. Somebody bought me a book, and it's the book is called I Can Pee on That. It's a book of poems by cats. I had my cat that passed away. She was 21 years old, and she was an absolute darling of a cat. And anyway, I think she should have written a poem called I Could Lay on That, because if you set anything down anywhere, she would lay on it. And I would warn everyone that came in. They'd go to put something down, and I'd say, she's gonna, oh, too late. She laid on everything, people's shoes. When I got my suitcase out to go, she'd always lay on that. Whatever, if anything was lying anywhere, she laid on it. So yes, I think there should be a poem in her honor called I Can Lay on That. But anyway, thank you guys so much. I appreciate everything that everyone does for me, and not just donations, but just your encouragement, your comments. You are a good group of people, and I appreciate it. I don't think I would still be doing this if I had some of the hateful people that some of the other channels have. So I'm glad that we've attracted a good crowd here, and family-oriented crowd, I think. And yeah, I think most of us think the same, or not the exact same. We don't want to think the exact same, because if two people think alike, one of them isn't necessary. So we don't all think alike, but we're able to agree to disagree and respect each other, and I think that that is wonderful. All right, well, I'm going to dive in here, and I'm not quite sure where to start, but I think I'm going to start down. Well, I think I'm going to start here, actually, because I've got a few stories that go along this, so I'll keep them all together. But this is about, two-door Ford. And of course, we call her two-door Ford because she claimed that she needed to have an extra door put in her home because she was afraid of being trapped in there without having a way of escape. So yeah, but actually, come to find out, she had an extra door put in because she was splitting her house off so she could rent part of it. Yeah. So, ooh, goodness. We got a little short in my wire here. Hang on. There we go. Let there be light. I need to get a new light because the cats ate through the cord, and I can't find another cord for the light. So, I don't know. Yeah, something has to be done with those cats. All right, let's take a look at this. New York Times updates Kavanaugh bombshell to note accuser doesn't recall alleged assault. And of course, the New York Times ran a story. Now, of course, they're walking it back because it was completely fabricated. Of course, like most things in the New York Times, we really can't believe anything we're seeing in the mainstream media anymore. And to tell you the truth, sometimes you can't even believe the things that you're reading in the alternative media, because some of those people are also on the other side. They are controlled opposition. So it is frustrating, to say the least. And I'm sure you guys all feel the frustration as well. All right. Beto O'Rourke calls for Justice Kavanaugh to step down or be impeached. Beto O'Rourke gives his take on the latest sexual assault allegation against a Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh. The New York Times suddenly made a major revision to a supposed bombshell piece late Sunday concerning a resurfaced allegation of sexual assault by Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, hours after virtually all 2020 Democratic presidential candidates had cited the original article as a reason to impeach Kavanaugh. Yeah, the update included the significant detail that several friends of the alleged victim, Harmon Joyce, said she did not recall the purported sexual assault in question at all. The Times also stated for the first time that the alleged victim refused to be interviewed and has made no other comment about the episode. And naturally, it's only logical that if somebody had some sort of allegation against Kavanaugh, that they would have come out with it when Ford was going through all that, right? Doesn't that make sense? I mean, if you're watching the television and you're seeing somebody that supposedly sexually assaulted you years ago, and this person's coming forward, wouldn't you say, gee, you know what? If they can come forward, maybe I should, because maybe, it'll lend more credence to what I went through. But that's not exactly what happened, is it? No, because there are no real allegations against Kavanaugh at all. The only first-hand account concerning the supposed attack in the original piece, which was published on Saturday, came from a Clinton-connected lawyer who claimed to have witnessed it. Sure he did. Right. The lawyer, Max Stier, just the fact that they are Clinton connected and would represent the Clintons, excuse me, I'm going to take some kombucha. Good for the soul. And whatever else ails you. All right. So, yeah, if you are a lawyer and you're representing Clinton, what does that say about you? Not much. So anyway, that was it came from a Clinton-connected lawyer who claimed to have witnessed it. The lawyer, Max Stier, did not actually provide his account directly. The Times acknowledged that two officials who had communicated with Stier had relayed his supposed version of events. So this is third-hand witness, which is what they call hearsay. How would that stand up in court? It wouldn't. I'm telling you, I did not cough all day, and I'm not sure what it is. I've been drinking herbal tea and all sorts of things, and I thought, I won't cough tonight. No, I won't. I've been drinking herbal tea. Well, my cough defied it. All right, so that was the only supposed first-hand account, but it really wasn't a first-hand account because it was given by a third person who apparently heard this Clinton-connected lawyer talk about his version of events. The Times revision said, editor's note, an earlier version of this article, which was adapted from a forthcoming book, did not include one element of the book's account regarding an assertion by a Yale classmate that friends of Brett Kavanaugh pushed his penis into the hand of a female student at a drunken dorm party. The book reports that the female student declined to be interviewed, and friends say she does not recall the incident. That information has been added to the article. Well, if you don't recall the incident, either you were completely wiped out of your mind. Yes, that is Sammy. Not sure what the mournful cry is about. He's got a clean litter box. He's got food. He's got water. He's got lots of toys. But doesn't that sound mournful? It sounds like he's lost his last friend, that he's being neglected and abused. If you only knew. Anyway, so yeah, chances are if you're at a party and somebody sexually assaults you, unless you're just, baked, you're going to remember it. And not only that, let's say you are baked. I think all of your friends are going to tell you, hey, you know what happened last night? Yeah, while you were drunk, some guy put his penis in your hand. But that doesn't happen. She's completely unaware of it. Even after the revision, the Times story does not mention two separate revelations in the book that Leland Kaiser, the friend of Christine Blasey Ford, who was allegedly at the party where Kavanaugh supposedly assaulted her, had specifically rejected Ford's claims. Previously, through her attorney, Kaiser had said only that she was unable to corroborate it because she had no recollection of the incident in question. I don't have any confidence in the story, Kaiser told the reporters. According to the book, those facts together I don't recollect, and it doesn't make any sense. Well, it doesn't make any sense to us either. The Times update came only after the Federalist Molly Hemingway, who reviewed an advance copy of the book, first flagged the article's omission on Twitter, prompting other commentators to press the issue. The Times did not immediately respond to an email from Fox News seeking comment. The paper's editor's note, meanwhile, did little to stem a torrent of criticism late Sunday. And there's a reason why we're going back to visit this, so I just want to set the foundation here before we move on. Should I be surprised at this point that the New York Times would make such an unforgivable oversight? That is Mark Hemingway. Should I be surprised at this point? Okay, we just read that. Asked Real Clear Investigations, Mark Hemingway wrote the Washington Examiner's Jerry Dunleavy, crazy how the one element that wasn't included in the original article was the part where the alleged victim's friend said she doesn't remember it happening. And this says, this undated photo shows Deborah Ramirez, her uncorroborated allegations that Kavanaugh had exposed himself to her in college, which came after she admitted to classmates that she was unsure Kavanaugh was the culprit, and after she spent several days talking to a lawyer, were reported September 23rd, 2018 by the New Yorker magazine. It's important to point out that this correction almost certainly would have never occurred if conservative media folks like M.Z. Hemingway and others hadn't obtained a copy of the actual book itself the same day the excerpt article was released, author James Hassan said. Throughout the day on Sunday, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Beto O'Rourke, Cory Booker, and Julian Castro, among others, declared that Kavanaugh must be impeached, citing the allegation. Now, don't you think that this is interesting, seeing as all this regarding the FISA abuse is set to come down because the report is finished and it is being looked over by Attorney General Barr. So I think the timing is suspect, to say the least. The revitalized long-shot push to get Kavanaugh removed from the high court came as Democrats' apparent effort to impeach President Trump has largely stalled. Trump, for his part, suggested Sunday that Kavanaugh should sue for defamation. I think he should. I think Trump should as well sue, because there's Mika Brzezinski claiming that there's rumors that Barron is not Donald Trump's son. So first of all, actually, it should be Melania that sues, because doesn't speak well of Melania, does it? She's suggesting that Melania had an affair and conceived outside of the marriage. I would sue, because it's pretty obvious that Barron Trump is President Trump's son. First of all, because there's no indication that he's not. And number two, he looks like him. He looks like a combination of the both of them. So, yeah, I think that they should sue. They should not. And since when does the mainstream media, since when are they in the business of talking about rumors? That's not what news is. You don't get on the news and talk about rumors. You talk about facts. Unbelievable. But anyway, Trump, for his part, suggested Sunday that Kavanaugh should sue for defamation. The Times piece by Robin Pogrebin and Kate Kelly, adapted from their forthcoming book, asserts that a Kavanaugh classmate, Clinton-linked nonprofit CEO Max Stier, saw Mr. Kavanaugh with his pants down at a different drunken dorm party where friends pushed his penis into the hands of a female student. Right. Okay. The Times did not mention Stier's work as a Clinton defense attorney or Stier's legal battles with Kavanaugh during the Whitewater investigation, and simply called him a respected thought leader. I think not. I think not. And here's something else that strikes me just a little bit odd. Okay, a lot odd. You've got Pelosi, who was running up a massive bar tab, as she was jetting back and forth to Washington, to her home, from Washington to her home in California and back again. And yes, they do need to commute because, they have to spend time in Washington and they have to spend time in their home states. But she ran up an enormous bar tab. You don't hear anything about that. Nothing. But yet they want to impeach Kavanaugh for his supposedly drunken behavior because he liked a few beers in college. Yet you have Pelosi. This is recent. She's a lush, and she appears drunk at times. But it's okay for her. Yeah. Two totally different standards. They live by one standard, but they demand another standard out of the conservatives and the Republicans. Meanwhile, they are just as dirty as they come, and corrupt and morally bankrupt. Really. So anyway, according to the Times, Stier notified senators and the FBI about this account last year during the Kavanaugh hearings, but the FBI did not investigate, and Mr. Stier has declined to discuss it publicly. However, the Times article also conspicuously did not mention that Pogrebin and Kelly's book found that the female student in question had denied any knowledge of the alleged episode. The book notes, quietly, that the woman Max Stier named as having been supposedly victimized by Kavanaugh and friends denies any memory of the alleged event, observed Molly Hemingway. Seems I don't know, significant. Yeah. The book reads, Tracy Harmon, whose name is now Harmon Joyce, has also refused to discuss the incident, though several of her friends said she does not recall it. Omitting these facts from the New York Times story is one of the worst cases of journalistic malpractice that I can recall, wrote the National Review's Washington correspondent John McCormick on Twitter. McCormick wrote separately, if Kavanaugh's friends pushed his penis, then isn't it an allegation of wrongdoing against Kavanaugh's friends, not Kavanaugh himself? Surely even a modern liberal Yaley who's been to one of those weird non-sexual naked parties would recognize both the female student and Kavanaugh are alleged victims in this alleged incident, barring an additional allegation that a college-age Kavanaugh asked his friends to push his penis. You think that happened? Hey guys, I'm going to take my pants off and you push my penis. Okay, yeah, that happened. All right. The Times went on to note in the article that it had corroborated the story with two officials who had communicated with Mr. Stier, but the article apparently meant only that the Times had corroborated that Stier made his claim to the FBI. No first-hand corroboration of the alleged episode was apparently obtained. Nevertheless, Democrats announced a new effort to topple Kavanaugh. Hawaii Democratic Senator Mazie Hirono Maisie. I always think of a cow when I think of Maisie, and I'm not alluding to her weight or anything else. I just do. That's like the name of a cow. I grew up around a lot of cows because my grandfather was a dairy farmer. Yeah, Maisie. It's a cow's name. I'm just saying. make of that what you will. All right. Now, Mazie Hirono, who infamously said last year that Kavanaugh did not deserve a fair hearing because he might be pro-life. That's not how things work in America, Maisie. Not how things work in America at all. You're considered innocent until you're proven guilty, no matter what your beliefs are. So, Kavanaugh did not deserve a fair hearing because he might be pro-life. Said the Senate Judiciary Committee should begin an impeachment inquiry to determine whether Kavanaugh lied to Congress. Impeaching Kavanaugh would require a majority vote in the Democratic-controlled House, and a highly unlikely 2/3 vote in the GOP majority Senate would then be needed to remove him from the bench. That's not going to happen. No Supreme Court justice or president has ever been convicted by the Senate, although 8 lower-level federal judges have been. The long odds didn't stop 2020 Democratic presidential hopefuls from joining in on the effort. And you know why they're doing this. There are things coming down very quickly that are going to make all of them look very, very bad. And they're trying to, oh, look, over there, look here, no, there. You know, it's that old trick, you know. Like my brother, God rest his soul, he used to do that to me all the time. Look! And then he'd steal something on my plate. And I'd say, you took that. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. You can't prove it. I couldn't because it was in his mouth. Yeah, and I fell for it all the time. That's what big brothers do to you. Anyway, so the long odds didn't stop 2020 Democratic presidential hopefuls from joining in on the effort. I sat through those hearings. Harris wrote on Twitter, Brett Kavanaugh lied to the U.S. Senate and, most importantly, to the American people. He was put on the court through a sham process, and his place on the court is an insult to the pursuit of truth and justice. He must be impeached, said the woman who slept her way into politics. Yeah. During the hearings, Harris strongly implied that she knew Kavanaugh had improperly discussed special counsel Robert Mueller's then-going probe with a Trump-connected lawyer. Harris provided no evidence for the bombshell insinuation, which went viral on social media and sent the hearing room into stunned silence, even as she directly accused Kavanaugh of lying under oath. Well, she's just accused of lying under. Never mind. Castro and Warren echoed that sentiment and said Kavanaugh had committed perjury. It's more clear than ever that Brett Kavanaugh lied under oath, Castro wrote. He should be impeached, and Congress should review the failure of the Department of Justice to properly investigate the matter. Wah, 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 wah. Warren wrote, what did Pocahontas say? Last year, the Kavanaugh nomination was rammed through the Senate without a thorough examination of the allegations against him. Confirmation is not exoneration, and these newer revelations are disturbing. Like the man who appointed him, Kavanaugh should be impeached. Says the woman who claims she was Native American to get preference at Harvard. O'Rourke claimed to know that Kavanaugh had lied under oath and falsely said that the new accuser was not known to Senate Democrats or the FBI last year. Yesterday, we learned of another accusation against Brett Kavanaugh, one we didn't find out about before he was confirmed because the Senate forced the FBI to rush its investigation to save his nomination, O'Rourke said. We know he lied under oath. He should be impeached. Yeah. And we're not even going to go into everything that O'Rourke has done and the disturbing things he wrote about wanting to kill children, run over them with his car. It just goes on and on with him. So Senator Cory Booker tweeted in part, this new allegation and additional corroborating evidence adds to a long list of reasons why Brett Kavanaugh should not be a Supreme Court justice. I stand with survivors and countless other Americans who called for impeachment proceedings to begin. Is that right, Cory Booker? Who will never, ever be president. Amy Klobuchar, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's the one. Remember the last video? She just kept saying, and he called me Snow Woman. And she just kept repeating the story ad nauseum because she can't think of anything else to say. And she thinks it's so clever. And he called me Snow Woman. And I said, well, how would your hair fare in a blizzard? It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Anyway, what did Amy Klobuchar have to say? She stopped short of calling for impeachment and instead posted a picture of Kavanaugh accuser Christine Blasey Ford with the words, "Let us never forget what courage looks like." Right. Okay. All right. Bernie Sanders. Oh, Bernie Sanders. Meanwhile, said he backed getting rid of Kavanaugh by any legal means available. The revelations today confirm what we already knew. During his hearing, Kavanaugh faced credible accusations and likely lied to Congress. I support any appropriate constitutional mechanism to hold him accountable. And who's going to hold you accountable, Bernie Sanders? As the calls mounted, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell shot back Sunday afternoon on Twitter and made clear that Kavanaugh wasn't going anywhere. The far left's willingness to seize on completely uncorroborated and unsubstantiated allegations during last year's confirmation process was a dark and embarrassing chapter for the Senate, McConnell wrote. Yes. Okay, now, he added, Fortunately, a majority of senators and American people rallied behind timeless principles such as due process and the presumption of innocence. I look forward to many years of service to come from Justice Kavanaugh. The Times piece also stated that well before Kavanaugh became a federal judge, at least 7 people had heard about how he allegedly exposed himself to Deborah Ramirez at a party. Right. Ramirez had called classmates at Yale seeking corroboration for her story and even told some of her classmates that she could not remember the culprit in the alleged episode before changing her mind and publicly blaming Kavanaugh after 6 days of carefully assessing her memories and consulting with her attorney, the New Yorker reported last year in a widely derided piece. The Senate Judiciary Committee, then led by Chuck Grassley, wrote in an executive summary of its investigation that it contacted Ramirez's counsel several times seeking evidence to support claims made in the New Yorker, but that Ms. Ramirez produced nothing in response and refused a committee request for an interview. Late Sunday, Grassley's office called out the Times for omitting key details in the story published this weekend. New York Times did not contact Senator Grassley's office for this story. If they had, we would have reminded them of a few key public facts they omitted, Grassley's team wrote. Despite 7 attempts by staff, Ms. Ramirez's lawyers declined to provide documentary evidence referenced in the article, witness accounts to support the claims. They also declined invitation for Ms. Ramirez to speak with committee investigators or to provide them a written statement. Additionally, the FBI separately reached out to nearly a dozen individuals to corroborate the allegations by Ford and Ramirez and ultimately spoke to 10 individuals and 2 eyewitnesses, but apparently found no corroboration. The agency's investigation began after then Senator Jeff Flake called for a 1-week delay in Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing so an independent agency could look into the claims against him. Flake, appropriately named. That name really suits him. Flake said the FBI's, no, I don't mean any, disrespect to flakes. Like, I like cornflakes and things like that. I don't mean them any disrespect. Flake said the FBI's probe needed to be limited in length to avoid derailing the proceedings with endless claims and probes going back to Kavanaugh's high school years. Kavanaugh predicted by Democrats during his confirmation process to be a hardline conservative, often sided with liberal justices during the Supreme Court's last term. The president, meanwhile, accused the media of trying to influence Kavanaugh. He also went on to say that Kavanaugh could go on the offensive and take on the media for false statements. Brett Kavanaugh should start suing people for libel, or the Justice Department should come to his rescue. The lies being told about him are unbelievable. False accusations without recrimination. When does it stop? They are trying to influence his opinions. Can't let that happen, he tweeted. So I'm going to, because there's a lot more here, but that gives us the gist. I know we're all really aware of everything that happened and is happening and has happened. But let's go on here because we needed to revisit that. And now we're going to look at this. Why do you think that Christine Blasey Ford, two-door Ford, used Ford for sale, was motivated to lie? Why do you think she might do that? Well, let's take a look. And by the way, she profited over $1 million by this. Meanwhile, Kavanaugh's bill, I believe, I can't remember now if it's Flynn's bill or Kavanaugh's bill, but you know, he had to pay for all these, you know, all this defense, I believe, because Flynn's had to, and it's been up there in near $1 million for Flynn. So yeah, okay. Well, let's take a look at why she might have lied. There's two reasons, really. Two. And no, I don't think it was necessarily, I think, yes, she was encouraged by the deep state, but let's take a look here. Let's take a look. Christine Blasey Ford was motivated by pro-abortion stance to accuse Brett Kavanaugh. Okay, I know you're saying, well, big deal, we know that. You know, because it's the whole fact that Kavanaugh was, as a Catholic, was probably pro-life, and, you know, they didn't like that. Okay, but there's more. There's more to that. And we're going to look at it. You know why? Because we can. All right. Mark this down in the category of things we knew but were later confirmed. Deborah Katz, one of the radical progressive lawyers who represented Christine Blasey Ford as she accused Justice Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault during the heat of his confirmation hearings last year, has acknowledged that putting an asterisk next to his name as he takes a scalpel to Roe versus Wade was part of the motivation for Ford to make her accusations in the first place. Yeah. The details of her accusation were always sketchy at best, with allegations she knew could be neither proven nor disproven. She eventually testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee in a failed attempt to derail the confirmation of President Trump's second Supreme Court nomination. And why has she never been held accountable for perjury? Why? I'd like to know. If that were you or I, we'd be in jail. The key would have been thrown away. All right, well, let's go on because there's more. There's always more. All right, Kat seemed to hesitate after she mentioned Ford's motivation, as if concerned she may have said something she shouldn't have. It's been long speculated Ford made up the incident with the sole intention of defaming Kavanaugh, either to prevent him from being confirmed or to taint his lifetime term. In a way, it has worked. It is very possible this incident will influence how he handles abortion cases that make it to the Supreme Court in the future. So what she's saying, you know, or what this article is saying is that, you know, in a way, like she knew that her accusations could neither be confirmed or proven nor disproven, but she wanted to put that little asterisk next to his name so that it might influence him when, you know, these cases reach the Supreme Court and might make him back off a little bit. That is what it is saying. It is very possible this incident will influence how he handles abortion cases that make it to the Supreme Court in the future. With state laws becoming more extreme in both directions, it's a near certainty abortion will be an issue they hear while he's on the bench. Many have felt Christine Blasey Ford was motivated by politics and not a cry for justice when she made her accusations. Now we have our first confirmation that attacks on Brett Kavanaugh were part of the pro-abortion propaganda machine. So it's not quite as easy as that. So we're gonna look at this. We are currently forming the American conservative movement. If you are interested in learning, okay, well, that's not part of the article. No, where is the rest of it? Oh, I thought I had it. Maybe I do. Let's go back here. Let's go back. Because as it turns out, seems like she was getting directly making money off the abortion pill. So she had every reason to want to smear Kavanaugh for her own personal gain, not just political gain. Let's go back. Let me see if I have that. Okay. Hang on. I guess I didn't. I'm going to have to find that for you because she is making money off of the abortion pill. Sure is. So that would, that's a conflict of interest. Don't you think? All right, and then here is this. Something else I want to get into. Here's the Blasey family. CIA and other connections. So, CIA, okay, this is Ralph Blasey Jr. And he is CIA, and his CIA employment is public and unchallenged. He's the vice president of the National Saw Trust, Washington, D.C. from 1962 to 1974, CIA Finance and FBI. And hang on, he is the president of Red Coats, Inc., armed security for McCabe, Comey, and Mueller. That's right. Ralph Blasey Jr. His CIA employment is public, and he's the president of Red Coats, armed security for McCabe, Comey, and Mueller. And he's the vice president of National Saw Trust, Washington, D.C., which is finance and for the CIA and the FBI. And then here's this. Here's Christine Blasey Ford when she was younger. And she is a chair of CIA internship program. That's right. She is CIA. She is the chair of CIA internship program, psych research. And what else does she do? Drug effect research. She continuance of the studies of Dr. Melgus and Dudley. All right, we're going to take a look at all this. And this is Stanford. So she's part of the internship program she trains the interns, psych research, drug effect research at Stanford, drug design, chem bio warfare research. All right, let's come down here. And this is Thomas Blasey. He is a lawyer, and he worked at Axelis, Inc., ITT Communication, digital, which, looks at digital footprints, and one of his accounts, Jill Strzok. Yeah, Peter Strzok's wife. I don't know if they're still together after his little terst, but anyway, yeah, all these connections. And this is I don't know, I cut it off too soon, sorry, lawyer, and worked at Fusion GPS, and I wish I hadn't cut it off that soon. I hate when I do that. Okay, and then let's come up here. Founder, president, this is Nicholas Deek, and he is the founder, president, Deek Pereira. Deek Pereira, CIA Bank, accounts worldwide, offices, died 1985. So this is the founder and the president of this, and this is the vice president. All right. Now, down here, this is Dr. F. Malgus, and he is a professor of psychiatry at Stanford, professor of psychiatry, Stanford Medicine, head of CIA intern program. And she is the chair of the CIA internship program. And he is human covert chemical testing, temporal disintegration, died 1988. And she is the chair and continues on with his work. Now, this is Lois Lang, was a homeless woman who became a patient of Dr. Malgus. He studied her from 1970 to 1985. And it says executed Nicholas Deek, November 1985. So she killed him, the president of the this CIA finance, CIA and FBI, who Ralph Blasey Ford was employed with. He was the vice president. This was the president. And he died because he was executed by this woman who was a homeless woman who became a patient of this guy. This guy, Dr. Malgus, was the head of the CIA intern program, and Blasey Ford continued his work. She is the chair. Interesting, no? So, yeah, don't you think that she's CIA? Really? And she presented herself with these mousy glasses, which were dirty. I think, honestly, I mean, call me crazy. You wouldn't be the first. But her glasses were so dirty, I think they were, Google was coming out with those glasses that actually you can see the internet. Just, people can't see you seeing the internet, but you can see it. I think they were putting in her glasses, I think that they were putting the words and everything and reminding her what to say. I really do. Right, call me nuts, but I've seen and read a lot of articles on those Google glasses. And I know that, I don't know if they're available to the general public, but I know they've been developed. So, I don't know. Now, let me just see if I can find really quickly. Let me see if I can find Christine Blasey Ford abortion pill, because now it's driving me crazy. Okay. All righty. Says no, Brett Kavanaugh accuser Christine Blasey Ford isn't linked to abortion pill. Well, that's from PolitiFact. I don't know. Several headlines on the internet claimed Christine Blasey Ford, who accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault, had an ulterior motive. Well, she did. Kavanaugh accuser worked for a pharma company that sold abortion pill for alternative uses. A September 21st headline on Patriot News Alert read, Kavanaugh has denied the accusation. Others took it further. Kavanaugh accuser Christine Blasey Ford exposed for ties to Big Pharma abortion pill maker. Efforts to derail Kavanaugh's plot to protect abortion industry profits. And it says, but claiming that Corcept, which is the company, Ford worked as director of biostatistics for Corcept Therapeutics, a California pharmaceutical startup, from 2006 to 2012. According to an archive of her since deleted LinkedIn page, Corcept published 6 papers under her name, but claiming that Corcept sells an abortion pill is like saying a road salt company sells food seasoning. But wait a minute. Yeah, okay, she worked for this therapeutics company, but let's go back here. And, you know, she did drug effect research for Stanford, drug design, chemical biological warfare research. So, I mean, she was employed by the CIA. So there's a lot of this that it really needs to be fleshed out further, because there's a lot of this that doesn't make sense at all. None of what Christine Blasey Ford says makes sense by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to have to look into that, because I do see a reason why she might. And even if, okay, let's just say, all right, that's not why. She's still part of the deep state. Right? Or she wouldn't have done what she did. She's still part of them. She's employed by the CIA. And she's a chair of their internship program. She trains interns for the CIA. She worked for Stanford. Yeah, she's all up in that. Definitely. All right. You know what? We flogged that to death for tonight, but I don't think we're done with that. Tonight, we're done. But, yeah. And let's look at this. By Mark Meadows. Reminder, we just learned the former FBI director improperly leaked FBI documents, and his deputy and CNN contributor, Andrew McCabe, was just referred for criminal charges. But instead, this is Chairman Nadler on where his focus is. Impeachment of Trump is imperative. Yeah, that's where all of the Democrats' focus is. They're so predictable. They're so predictable. They don't want to do their jobs. They haven't done their jobs. Look, California wouldn't be the mess. All the Democratic cities are a mess. All the Democrat cities run by Democrats, are a mess. So they don't want to do their job. No. Let's just impeach Trump. We want to stay in power, even though we don't do anything, even though we don't care for the people in our constituents. We're just sucking up money from the American people, but we want to be in charge and have power so we can continue to pad our pocketbooks. So let's impeach Trump. That's why. None of them work. Not really. If they do, what have they been doing? Really? Would California be the mess it is if they were actually doing their jobs? No. All right. Now, I can't remember what this is, but let's take a look at it, because it must be something, because I just put it in here tonight. Oh, yes. Let's look at this. Former Democrat Party chairman streamed live videos of child sex abuse. Right. Now, this is from November 2018. And now why I'm just finding this, I don't know. Maybe this did make the news big time last year. Do you guys remember this? Because I don't. Unless I'm losing it, because I do look at all this stuff all the time. But I mean, look at, agents also found 2 grams of methamphetamines at Moody's home and a half gram of the drug in his office desk drawer, Bennett said. In asking a judge to detain Moody, Bryant also cited the nature of the photographs in the video he is accused of distributing, images of baby and young children being raped, and his apparent rapidly escalating involvement. She pointed to the agent's testimony that Moody was initially observed viewing the images, then distributing them, and eventually even hosting sessions in which people in a secure chat room stream live videos of infants being raped. Bennett testified that the chat rooms in which an undercover officer encountered Moody are accessible through a computer application that he wouldn't identify. Good. He said they require a room code and a password to enter and are solely dedicated to displaying child pornography. The agent called Moody a high-volume user who logged in and out several times a day, including 26 times in a 2-day span, and who was given the privilege of being a host, which indicates he did something to ingratiate himself with the person who is in charge of the rooms. Tarver put on testimony from Moody's partner, Gabriel Womack, who said he broke off their engagement this summer after finding methamphetamines in their apartment and after Moody admitted to being addicted to the drug. Womack said Moody has made at least 2 attempts to stop but can't. He said this is a drug issue. No, it's not a drug issue. Don't blame it on the drugs. There's so much of this. You know, before Trump, do you ever remember hearing, I mean, yes, you'd hear about it every now and then. And when you did, it was a big freaking deal. Now it's in the news every day. Somewhere, somebody's being caught for hideous things. These aren't just, slap on your wrist type deals. These are hideous. I don't know, but I pray that Trump is able to clean this up. And let's look at this now. This is very interesting as well. Trey Gowdy. Hillary Clinton's crimes are much worse than anyone thought. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. That's a quote by Franklin D. Roosevelt. The news today is that James Comey revealed classified information in the memos he leaked. There is nothing new here, so why has it suddenly gone mainstream? For the answer, you have to know the players. First, Comey knows too much. He did his best to navigate the swamp while he was FBI director, but Washington's criminal elite now needs a fall guy, and his handling of the Clinton email investigation angered people on both sides of the political divide, so he's the perfect sacrificial lamb. Trey Gowdy, one of Washington's few legitimate men of integrity and a frequent critic of Jim Comey, recently said, "I've had plenty of differences with Jim Comey. I want to be really clear about that, but I think history is going to be much kinder to Comey over his July press conference in which he declined to prosecute Hillary than the Democrats were when he had it. I think he had access to information that, because he's a stand-up guy who's not going to decimate classified information, although God knows everyone else is, he's not going to release it even if it casts him in a negative light." Gowdy is talking about something we reported almost 2 months ago. After working the case for over a year, Comey realized that damn near the entire government was involved. One agent with intimate knowledge of the case characterized Comey's dilemma this way: "There is enough for her and the entire government to be brought down. People do not realize how enormous this whole situation really is. The problem is with the Clinton Foundation, as I mentioned, what you should just imagine as a massive spiderweb of connections and money laundering implicating hundreds of high-level people. This case would explode into a million other cases if fully brought to light, and then we would be one agency competing against the entire government and a horde of other interests. It is a very tense and uncomfortable situation." Comey chose to avoid a massive shitestorm, as the agent characterized it, that would have resulted from exposing the entire globalist power structure. That is why Comey allowed Hillary and everyone close to her to scrub and then destroy their personal computers and devices rather than conduct a proper investigation in accordance with standard FBI collection of evidence procedures. The only thing that stood in the way of Comey succeeding in protecting the Clintons' criminal syndicate was the New York Police Department discovery of Anthony Weiner's laptop that had almost all the evidence that Comey had sought to eviscerate. While it's true that Comey is a dirty cop who should not be forgiven for turning his back on his responsibility to ferret out corruption wherever he found it, that is not the reason he's now the target of Washington's swamp. Quite the opposite is the reason. In fact, Clinton co-conspirators are growing more and more desperate to stop President Trump from fulfilling his campaign promise to drain the swamp, and James Comey, who knows where all the skeletons are hidden, must be discredited prior to cutting a deal to tell Trump investigators what they want to know in order to save his own bacon. Whatever we suspected about the Clintons' criminal actions, Trey Gowdy just told us it's a whole lot worse than we ever imagined. Interesting. And what else do we have here? A lot. Let's come down here. Let's get rid of this. And this, just so I can find the stuff that I haven't. Now this is important, but I'm going to refer to it in the next video because it's too long now. I've taken time with other things and it would put the video way over. So you can count on that for the next video. And it is very interesting, very, very interesting, extremely interesting. All right. And let me see here. I think I'm going to get on this too. I think that this is extremely important, and this is as good a time as any to get into it. All right. Yeah, more stuff about Omar. Omar tells room full of Muslims it is time to raise hell in America. Now, this is back. Now, this is not a recent article. I found this, but it's from March of 2019, and I haven't seen this. Maybe you have. I haven't. Minnesota Democrat Representative Ilhan Omar has issued a call to arms for her fellow Muslim Americans to raise hell. She was speaking to around 400 Los Angeles area Muslims at the Woodland Hills Hilton on Saturday and complained that they were being discriminated against. I say raise hell, make people uncomfortable, she said to a cheering audience, because here's the truth. For far too long, we have lived with the discomfort of living as a second-class citizen, and I'm tired of it. She's not living as a second-class citizen at all. Quite the contrary. She should be living as one. She should be in jail for what she's done. Muslims are told that we should not bother anyone, not make any kind of noise, be a good Muslim, she said. But no matter how much we have tried to be the best neighbor, people have always worked on finding a way to not allow every single civil liberty to be extended to us. That is an out-and-out lie. People say, Ilhan, why are you always talking about this particular country and not that particular country, she said in reference to her anti-Israel comments. My choice of country to talk about is not based on my preference of country. It is based on what country is violating basic human rights, she said. So it doesn't matter. What about, like, her country would stone her for her adultery? That's not against basic human rights? I'm just saying. The news came, it doesn't matter. Okay, I read that. Pardon me. The news came days after it was revealed that Omar had been holding secret fundraising meetings with Muslim groups who have ties to terrorism. Minnesota Democrat Representative Ilhan Omar has been meeting behind the scenes with Islamic groups that have ties to terrorism to help with fundraising. The meetings have been deliberately closed off from the press and hidden from public view to avoid scrutiny, the Washington Free Beacon reported. The content of these speeches given to predominantly Muslim audiences remains unknown, prompting some of Omar's critics to express concern about the type of rhetoric she is using before these paying audiences, particularly in light of the lawmakers' repeated use of anti-Semitic tropes in public. Omar recently spoke in Florida at a private event hosted by Islamic Relief, a charity organization long said to have deep ties to groups that advocate terrorism against Israel. Over the weekend, she will appear at another private event in California that is hosted by CARE. CAPAC, a political action committee affiliated with the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CARE, a group that was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in a massive terror funding incident. Omar's appearance at these closed-door forums is raising eyebrows in the pro-Israel world due to her repeated and unapologetic public use of anti-Semitic stereotypes accusing Jewish people of controlling foreign policy and politics. With Omar's popularity skyrocketing on the anti-Israel left, it appears her rhetoric is translating into fundraising prowess. It remains unclear what Omar has told these audiences in her private talks. Washington Free Beacon attempts to obtain videos of past events were unsuccessful, and multiple local news and television outlets in the Tampa, Florida area, where Omar spoke to Islamic Relief last month, confirmed they were unable to gain access to the closed-door event. Islamic Relief has come under congressional investigation for what lawmakers have described as its efforts to provide assistance to terrorist groups such as Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. The charity has been banned by some countries as a result of these ties. In 2017, Congress sought to ban taxpayer funds from reaching the charity due to these terror links. A representative from Islamic Relief declined to provide the Free Beacon with any material related to Omar's appearance. The event was closed to the media. No materials are available, the official said. On Sunday, Omar will hold another meet and greet in Irvine, California for CARE, CAPAC. Those wishing to hear Omar speak are being asked to donate anywhere from $50 to $250, according to a flyer for the event. The CARE event also appears closed to the press. Free Beacon attempts to contact the organizer and obtain access were unsuccessful. Requests for comment on the nature of the speeches sent to Omar's congressional office also were not returned. I just wonder what is Representative Omar saying to a group of Islamic supporters that she feels is so secretive that she cannot say it to the American people as a whole. Sarah Stern, founder and president of the Endowment for Middle East Truth, said, "What is so secretive that it has to be off the record and closed to reporters? Will she say the same things in public to her Jewish voters in Minnesota that she says to her Islamic friends? What does this tell us about her openness, her honesty, and her integrity?" Representative Omar's presence as a keynote speaker to raise funds for Islamic Relief USA, whose parent organization and chapters have documented ties to terrorist organizations, demonstrates that she has learned next to nothing over the last few weeks when she was reprimanded by your office and by other Democrats for posting ugly anti-Semitic attacks on Jews and their organizations, pro-Israel group said in a letter to House Foreign Affairs Committee Chair Eliot Engel and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Yeah. Even though that is old, it is quite pertinent to what is happening now, because it's the same thing. And her alliances are not to the United States of America, and it's quite obvious. All right, now I think I'm going to call it quits with that, but I'm not calling it quits because I'm going to come back. Yes, that's a warning. So I hope that I will see you guys back here. It's a little more fun when I have people to talk to. So please come back, and otherwise, have a great evening. Stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and keep seeking truth. Please. Yes. Sometimes the truth is a lot harder to take than the lie, but it's the only choice we can make. So thank you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.